very good evening and a warm welcome to the news live on Rupavahini ChannelEye. I'm Sharon Mascarenhas.
A very good evening indeed. I'm Javed Bongzo and we begin with the headlines of tonight's news. Prime Minister says that the Adhikarana PSA should be turned into a people's refuge seeking fairness and justice. The attendance of ordinary level students in the Western Province schools is at a satisfactory level. The worldwide corona deaths exceeds 2.1 million. Meanwhile, the number of fully cured patients in Sri Lanka reaches 50,000. Construction of an air cargo importation terminal at the Katnayake International Airport begins. Now for those and other stories in detail. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa says that he believes the Adhikarana PSA should become the people's refuge in search of justice and fairness of the law. He expressed these observations on the occasion of the laying of foundation stone for the building complex to be constructed under the theme of Saubhagya Dakma Adhikarana Apimanayata. The new Adhikarana PSA to be constructed in place of the House of Judicial building of the colonial era would become the biggest building complex of the judiciary in the history of the country. The total estimated cost of the project to be spread in an extent of 6 acres of land is 16,500 million rupees. The construction is to be carried out under 4 stages. In the Adhikarana PSA building complex, 12 magistrate courts, 8 high courts and 4 commercial high courts as well as 10 district courts, 10 official residences for judges and 110 official residences of court staff are included. Laying of foundation stone to the building complex has taken place under the leadership of Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa on the invitation of Minister of Justice, President's Council Ali Sabri. Thereafter, the Prime Minister has unveiled the commemoration plaque.
අධිකරණ සම්බන්ධය පවතින්නේ එවැනිම විශ්වාසයක්. දේශපාලනික වශයෙන් අප කොමන මතවාද දැරුවා. පරමාධිපත්‍ය බලය රැඳී තිබෙන්නේ රටේ ජනතාව සමග. ඒ නිසා අප රට හමුවේ තබන ප්‍රතිපත්ති හා
Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa said that what the people wanted to see was the fulfillment of the reforms presented by them. He added that the people have the same kind of expectations with regard to the judiciary as well. The Prime Minister added that the supremacy of power lies with the people despite existence of different political ideology. He said that they have always acted to preserve the independence of the judiciary. People's attention has been focused on constitutional amendment that protects national security, economic development, human rights and supremacy of the law. A permanent solution has been given to the problem of delays in the examination of court cases. The Prime Minister also said that the Minister of Justice is taking measures to set up 100 new courts throughout the island in parallel to the program. Digitalization of the court system will commence next month. The Prime Minister has also pointed out the need for an attitudinal change with regard to outdated methodologies. The law should be equal to all and the citizens should be law-abiding. He also said that those who are engaged in the legal profession should not become fearful of legal institutions. He also said that they have laid the groundwork to realize the national requirement of one country, one law system.
ගොඩනැගිලි සංකීර්ණයට සමගාමීව රට පුරා නව අධිකරණ ශාලා 100ක් ස්ථාපිත කරන්න අධිකරණ ඇමතිවරයා කටයුතු කරගෙන යනවා. මේ ඉලක්කය මුළු අධිකරණ පද්ධතියම ඩිජිටල් කරණය කිරීම. එම කටයුත්ත ලබන පෙබරවාරියේ සිට ආරම්භ කරන්නට ඇමතිතුමා අද උනන්දු වෙනවා. නීති ශාස්ත්‍රවලට අදාළ දේශීය හා විදේශීය අධ්‍යයන පාසුකම් ඒ වෙනුවෙන් අප පුළුල් කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. ඒ විතරක් නෙවෙයි ඔහුගේ පාසුකම් පිළිබඳවත් අප අවධානය යොමු කරනවා. නීතිය යාවත්කාලීන කොට නීතියේ ප්‍රමාදය වළක්වන කාර්යක්ෂම ක්‍රමවේදයකින් ආරවුල් විසඳා ගැනීමේ ක්‍රමවේදය සාර්ථක වීමට නම් එහි කොටස්කරුවන් වන අධිකරණය නීතිඥවරු හා මහ ජනතාව යන අප සියලු දෙනා එක්ව යල් පැන ගිය ක්‍රමවේද වලින් එළියට බැස ආකල්පමය වෙනසක් කළ යුතු බව අපේ හැඟීමයි. පසුගිය කාලයේ බැලුවම වසර 40කට පසුව පරිමාධිකරණවල මිනිස්සුන්ගේ සංඛ්‍යාව 60%කින් වැඩි වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඒ රටක් ලෙස ලැබුජාග්‍රහණයක් කියලායි මම විශ්වාස කරන්නේ. අප සෑම විටම විශ්වාස කරන්නේ නීතිය සැමට සමාන විය යුතුයි කියලා. ඒ වගේම පුරවැසියා නීතිගරුක විය යුතුයි. තවත් පැත්තකින් අධිකරණවල සේවය කරන
Chief
අපේ
Justice
පුරවැසියන්ට
President's
ඒ
Counsel
ආයතනය
Jayanta C. Jayasuriya, Ministers Ali Sabri, Bandula Gunawardena, Gamini Lokuge and State Ministers Lohan Ratwata, Parliamentarians Madhuru Vithanage, Sagar Karyavasam, Attorney General Dapula de Oliveira, Western Province Governor Marshal of the Air Force Roshan Gunatilaka and Secretary to the Minister of Justice M.K. Mayadune have also attended the ceremony.
Schools in the Western Province were reopened today only for the students sitting for the GCE Ordinary Level Examination in March this year. It has been conducted according to health guidelines. The Ministry of Education says that the attendance of students was at a satisfactory level. Earlier, the health divisions had instructed educational authorities to close down schools in the Western Province for months due to the COVID pandemic. Schools in other parts of the island have been reopened according to protective health measures. The Ministry of Education has decided to reopen schools in the Western Province today by taking into consideration the successful island-wide functioning of the school system. The police has handed over leaflets outlining health instructions and other relevant facts to the students arriving in schools in the Colombo district today.
Was started today for the grade 11 students who are sitting for the ordinary level exam in March this year. Because of the COVID outbreak, Western Province was worstly affected and the decision was taken to close down the schools. But anyway, now we cannot keep the schools closed, and also ordinary level exams are now coming up in March. So that's why the decision was taken to open the schools in the Western Province for the grade 11 students. And also in the other provinces, normally the children are attending the schools and there are very few incidences that have been reported. But in general, the ministry or the government has not taken any measures to close down any of the schools in the other provinces. Then the other important thing is today, except for the Western Province, in the other districts, the tuition classes, the private tuition classes were open, starting for the ordinary level exam students and the advanced level exam students. The Western Province, the tuition classes will be open after the full opening of the schools, or maybe after the conduction of the ordinary level examinations. We don't know. We will review the situation and decision will be given later.
Arrival of students sitting for the GC Ordinary Level Examination in schools closed down in the Gampar district was witnessed today. The police were seen handing over leaflets to enlighten the students. The ordinary level classes in schools in Kalathura district, other than those in the isolated areas, have also been recommenced according to health guidelines. The Mathugama Educational Zone has recorded the highest percentage of attendance of students of 65.8 among all schools in the Western Province. In the Kalathura Educational Zone, the attendance was at 61.49%. The Negombo Education Zone has recorded a student arrival percentage of 52.43% and the Homagama Educational Zone was at 51.72%. The Ministry of Education says that the student attendance in other education zones was also satisfactory. Police media spokesman DIG Ajit Rohan says that vans and buses transporting school children in the Western Province should do so according to health guidelines. Secretary to the State Ministry of Primary Healthcare, Epidemiology and COVID-19 Prevention, Dr. Amal Harsha De Silva says that Sri Lankan health authorities are prepared to commence the vaccination process against the coronavirus outbreak in the country upon the arrival of the Oxford AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine from India within next week.
Most trusted vaccines to Sri Lanka next week. This is coming due to untiring efforts of our Excellency the President using all bilateral relationships with India, and the Indian Prime Minister has personally given us a large amount of vaccines to be supplied as a friendly country. Therefore, Sri Lankans are extremely lucky to get this vaccine. And this is the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine that we are getting. And this is one of the most trusted vaccines out of about 5 vaccines we have been studying. And Sri Lanka, we have a very good system of vaccine evaluation. there are a lot of medical specialists and also epidemiology specialists who will study this vaccine very critically and look at the risk and the benefits of this vaccine. That has been done, and I think Professor Channa Jayasumana, our minister who is in charge of pharmaceutical supplies and medical supplies, has given the instructions, and then I think National Medicine Regulatory Authority has given the emergency use license for this vaccine. Now, when a vaccine is approved, the people in the country, citizens, will have nothing to worry. You must get the vaccine. Why we are giving approval is that the benefits far outweighs the disadvantages. There may be certain small issues, but anyway, the advantages are much more, and therefore we request everybody to get this vaccine. And we also must say that if we vaccinate about 55% of our Sri Lankan population, we become one of the first countries in the world to vaccinate our population to be safe for everything, including tourism. And therefore, we can be one of the first countries in the world to say that we are one of the most safest destination as far as the corona is concerned. Therefore, with that, the economy can restart, the tourism can come back, and then our factories can start and operate normally, and therefore the country can be made normal quite quickly if we cover the population with necessary populations with the vaccine. Sri Lankans are lucky because we have a wide network of hospital facilities, and we have quite capable hospital doctors, nurses, public health inspectors, midwives, and everybody who are very, very talented in giving this vaccine altogether. Therefore, we will organize it in such a way that our front end of healthcare workers and the front end armed forces will get the vaccine initially. And we have identified the priority groups by the Presidential Task Force appointed by His Excellency the President, headed by Mr. Lalit Wiratunga. And I think there will be a smooth flow of vaccine into the country in time to come.
Here's the coronavirus update from around the world. The cumulative number of novel coronavirus infections around the world is nearing the grim milestone of 100 million, with over 2.1 million fatalities thus far. Meanwhile, the number of cases in the United States crossed 25 million as states accelerate their vaccine distribution and more infection strains are found globally. In the United States, the total number of COVID-19 cases risen to 25.1 million, with 419,220 deaths at present. By far, the United States remains the nation worst hit by the pandemic, claiming the world's most cases and deaths and making up more than 25% of the global caseload. Meanwhile, Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation has indicated that COVID-19 may kill 569,000 people in the U.S. Before the month of May this year, the latest estimate is an increase of 2,000 people from the previous figure, even though vaccination has already begun in the country. The number of new infections is slowing after a surge following the holiday season, with about 25% of the total U.S. COVID-19 cases recorded in the past 30 days. U.S. deaths have also soared this year as more than 70,000 people have lost their lives in the last 25 days, taking the toll to more than 417,000 and predicted to surpass 500,000 by February. Meanwhile, the United States has administered at least 21.8 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines, approximately 6% of its population thus far. Meanwhile, the United Kingdom reported 30,004 new confirmed cases yesterday, bringing the total number of coronavirus cases in the country to 3.6 million. Death toll from the disease reached 97,900. In the meantime, British Health Secretary Matt Hancock said early evidence has indicated that the lockdown restrictions in Britain have begun to bring the number of new infections down. However, he has insisted that the numbers have to decline further in order to lift the lockdown measures. Germany reported 12,250 new confirmed COVID-19 cases in the past 24 hours, pushing the total count to 2.3 million yesterday, with a death toll of 51,870. Meanwhile, in Japan, reported 3,990 new infections, bringing the total number of confirmed cases to 365,700 last night. The death toll in Japan has reached 5,120, with 56 new fatalities reported. Meanwhile, the local governments in Japan are facing challenges when arranging the vaccination against COVID-19 due to the lack of manpower and space.
And Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador has announced he has tested positive for COVID-19. The 67-year-old said that his symptoms were mild and that he was optimistic following the diagnosis. The development came as Mexico grapples with an upsurge in infections, with deaths nearing 150,000.
Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador said Sunday that he has COVID-19. He said in a tweet that his symptoms were light so far, that he's already getting treatment, and that, quote, "As always, I'm optimistic." The president said he's enjoyed good health, though he suffered a serious heart attack in 2013. López Obrador has resisted the lockdown seen elsewhere and has resisted wearing a mask. His diagnosis comes as Mexico approaches a grim milestone, 150,000 deaths from COVID-19. That's the world's fourth highest death toll, according to a Reuters tally. An intense second wave has overwhelmed Mexico City's hospitals. The health ministry said real numbers of infections and deaths are likely higher than the official count. Jose Garcia lives in Mexico City and lost a family member from COVID-19.
We were looking for hospitals all day, and there was no room in any of them. This was the only place that would receive us, and unfortunately a member of my family didn't survive. Now they're going to be cremated because funeral homes are also full.
Mexico's government said it hopes to acquire 12 million doses of Russia's Sputnik vaccine as early as next week, which will add to its existing supply of vaccines from Pfizer. López Obrador says he will speak to Russia's Vladimir Putin on Monday, though his interior minister will take his place for the country's daily briefings.
Rioters looted stores, set fires and clashed with the police in several Dutch cities yesterday, resulting in more than 240 arrests in the Netherlands. The protesters had gathered in defiance of a new nighttime curfew imposed in the country.
Dutch police clashed with protesters demonstrating against coronavirus rules across the Netherlands on Sunday. Local media reported at least 240 people were detained nationwide. In central Amsterdam, officers unleashed a water cannon after a row of mounted police and canine units moved in on a rally there. Protesters threw stones and fireworks with banners that said "Stop the lockdown." Restaurant owners had organised the Amsterdam protests on the second day of tougher limits, including a nightly curfew for the first time since World War II. Fearing a riot or a disease-spreading event, the mayor designated the museum square as a high-risk zone and gave police the power to preemptively frisk people for weapons. According to the national broadcaster, it was one of at least 10 cities where riot police had been deployed. It also said vehicles had been set on fire and there were reports of rioters looting stores. Schools and non-essential shops have been shut since mid-December, following the closure of bars and restaurants 2 months earlier. Overall, new infections in the country have been declining for a month and fell again on Sunday.
And the number of recoveries from COVID-19 has exceeded the 50,000 mark today. It is a percentage of 85.59. Another 13.93% is under treatment, which includes 8,193 patients. 160 persons under treatment at COVID-19 treatment centers in the Polonnaruwa district left today after recovering from the illness. They are residents of Mathura, Gaul, Colombo, Gampaha and Kalutara districts. 64 persons under treatment at COVID-19 treatment centers in Pinnavala left today after recovering from the illness. They were residents of Colombo, Kalutara, Yatiyantota, Mavanalla, Kagalla and Gampaha districts. 15,044 left the hospitals from the beginning of this month up to now after recovering from the virus. 653 left today after recovering from the illness. Another 383 COVID-19 patients were detected in the island today. 17,523 PCR tests have been conducted yesterday, and a total of 1,619,086 PCR tests have been conducted so far in the country. Parliamentarian and attorney-at-law Vasantayapa Bandar has been identified as a COVID-19 victim. The MP, placing a note in his official Facebook account, requests his close associates to undergo proper medical examination. Meanwhile, the Parliament Communication Division says that CCTV footage in Parliament have been inspected today to identify the close associates of the parliamentarian. It has been observed that the afflicted MP had attended a Parliament session on the 19th of this month and was also present for a short duration on the 21st of this month, which was not a Parliament day. Public service supplies in the Anuradhapura district office of the Department of Motor Traffic has been temporarily suspended due to a threatening situation as a result of COVID-19. It further says that the protective health measures are being taken within the institution premises. Three more COVID-19 related deaths were reported yesterday. The victims were residents of Colombo 14, Maradana and Pujapitiya Kandy, aged 77, 84 and 65 years. The isolation status imposed on 6 areas in the Kalmune North Gramanildari Division and 4 areas in the Kalmune South Gramanildari Divisions have been lifted with effect from 6 am today. Isolation in the Gramanildari Divisions of Yonakupura West and Yonakupura East in Dikwalla has also been lifted at 6 pm today. In addition, isolation status was imposed on the villages of Malay Colonia in the 140 Bolana South Gramanildari Division, in the Ambalantara Divisional Secretariat Division, as well as the Gramanildari Divisions of Palliakotua and Galhinna in the Pujapitiya Medical Officers Health Division with effect from 6 o'clock this morning. 12 persons who have violated health guidelines outside of the Western Province in the 24 hours that ended at 6 o'clock this morning have been arrested. So far, 2,746 persons have been arrested in connection. Several trains in the up-country line, which have been temporarily suspended due to the threat of the expansion of the COVID-19 disease, resume operations. Superintendent of Trains Transport in the Central Province, Ananda Karunaratna, says that accordingly, Denuvara Manike and Podi Manike have been redeployed in service. A train named Senkadagala Manike has been introduced, which will commence journey from Colombo Fort to Nanuaya at 12:40 pm. The train also scheduled to reach Hatton Railway Station daily at 8:20 pm. The return journey from Nanuaya to Colombo Fort will take place the following day. Night mail train from Colombo Fort to Badulla has also been reintroduced with effect from tomorrow. And construction of a new air cargo importation terminal in the airport village of the Katnayaka Bandaranayaka International Airport has commenced today. The work is being implemented under the first stage of the airport development project. The Katnayaka Airport is considered as an extremely crucial airport in the Indian Ocean zone. The air cargo terminal is being kept open 24 hours of the day. Around 2,500 metric tons of air cargo are being handled annually. The proposed new terminal building is scheduled to take charge of a further 150,000 metric tons of air cargo. Minister Prasanna Rantunga and State Minister D.V. Chanaka have presided over today's proceedings. The anticipated expenditure on the new project exceeds 2.36 billion rupees. It will comprise of 3 stories equipped with automated shells, cold rooms and other latest technological facilities. The Katnayaka Airport extends further contributions to fulfill the needs of re-exporting, importation and exportation even in the midst of the COVID pandemic. Construction of the new terminal is scheduled to be completed within 2 years. A group of government officials were also present on the occasion.
A felicitation ceremony for the winners of the Korean language speech contest was held at the Embassy of the Republic of Korea. The event was held in the presence of Ambassador Santosh Wonunjin Jong. The ambassador offered congratulations to the winners and expressed his appreciation for their excellent skills in speaking Korean. Due to the prevailing pandemic, the Korean language speech contest was held online last December as an event of Korean Week. The Embassy of the Republic of Korea in Sri Lanka is in collaboration with the Candy King Sejong Institute Center successfully organized the Korean language speech contest and award ceremony on the virtual platform. All award winners were presented certificates and prizes in the presence of their parents. Moreover, they had the opportunity to exchange pleasantries with the ambassador. On this occasion, the ambassador conveyed his deep appreciation for all the participants and organizers of the Korean speech contest for their interest and commitment to further Korea-Sri Lanka ties amid the pandemic. The ambassador also mentioned that the public health authorities in Sri Lanka have effectively implemented measures to battle COVID-19 in Sri Lanka.
The Colombo stock market has recorded a substantially higher turnover and a strikingly enhanced price index today as well. The CSE, which has risen to second place according to international rankings, has been able to maintain the favorable status.
The benchmark all-share price index gained 230 points to close at 8,694.35, while the S&P Sri Lanka 20 index gained 188 points to close at 3,500. The turnover was 14 billion rupees with 995 million shares changing hands in 69,332 trades. The market capitalization at the end of the day was 3,800 billion rupees.
And the funeral rites of senior media person, author, artist and scholar Kalakirti Dr. Edwin Aridasa was conducted under state patronage today. The remains of the versatile media man was kept as a private funeral parlour in Colombo. The body was brought in a motorcade to the General Cemetery Boralla this evening. The condolence message of the Prime Minister was read by Secretary of the Ministry of Buddha Sasana, Religious and Cultural Affairs, Professor Kapila Gunawardena. The Mahasangha, former President Maithripala Sirisena, Minister of Mass Media Keliya Rambukwala, other MPs and ministers and a large gathering were also present.
In other news, several electorate meetings of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna were held yesterday. The theme of the meeting was Siv Desa Suraki Siv Wasara. Minister Dr. Bandulu Gunawardena has delivered the address of the chief guest at the Ambalangoda electorate meeting. Minister Dr. Bandula Gudavardhana said that he will enter into an agreement in order to keep unchanged the prices of rice, flour, sugar, dal, gram, canned fish and sprats from the 1st of February until July. The minister added that, however, if there is a sudden government tax imposition on the commodities or any large-scale fluctuations in foreign exchange ratio, the prices may change. The Sathoso and the cooperatives will engage in a joint purchasing mechanism in order to keep the prices fixed during the 6-month period. A group including Minister Ramesh Patirana has also attended the event. Youth Conference of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna in the Rakwana electorate was also held yesterday. Parliamentarian Mudita Priyani Disoitsa has presided over the event. Minister Rohit Abegunawardena presided over the Women's Conference of the Kalutha electorate meeting yesterday.
Batik industrialists say that their profession, which has been neglected during the previous regime, has received a new lease of life under the program of the present government to uplift local industries. An extensive plan to resuscitate local industries has got underway with the present government coming into power. Under the program, special attention has been given to develop batik industry. This was an art that had become extremely popular among the masses of this country in the 70s decade. However, it was subjected to numerous challenges in the face of the market economy. The present government, after realizing the situation, has established a separate ministry under the leadership of a state minister. These measures have become an enormous relief to the batik industrialists scattered throughout the island. More than 10,000 batik industrialists still engage in their professional activities in certain divisional secretariat divisions in the Gampaha and Puttalam districts. As a result of their engagement in large, medium and small-scale projects, thousands of direct and indirect job opportunities have been created. Basic factors affecting the industrialists include procurement of raw material, management and marketing of products. The present government has provided remedies to these problems. A direct relationship between the producer and the trader has been created. The newly established ministry has taken measures to expand market opportunities. The ultimate outcome has been villagers in Koswadiya, Halpanvilla, Hattiniya and Marandavalla and Thalavilla who have been deprived of jobs for many years once again entering their profession.
A passenger travelling in a three-wheeler was shot and killed by an unidentified person in Pallimula Junction in Panadura. The police says that the gunman who had escaped came in a motorcycle. The shooting has taken place when the three-wheeler was heading towards Panadura from Moratua. A mobile phone has recorded scenes how the assailant had fled after committing the murder. The dead has been identified as a 31-year-old resident in Gemanumawatha, Valana, Panadura. The Panadura North Police Station is conducting further investigations.
And that's it for tonight's news. Do watch us tomorrow at the very same time. Good night.